Hello and welcome, you're watching the Top Jewish News channel. My name is Michael Vylensky and my guest today is Moshe Feiglin, former member of Knesset and the head of the Zehut movement and party. Moshe, always great to have you.
Always have to greet you, Michael.
Moshe, my first question to you will be about the words that Israel's Minister of National Security said about Biden and the United States. So as we all know, President Joe Biden forces Israel to enter supplies to Gaza, which eventually get to Hamas's hands. And Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israel's Minister of National Security, said that Biden is not that great for Israel's security and he's not really supporting Israel, and he said that Trump would be better. What do you think about his words? Do you agree with him? And how would you characterize America's support for Israel?
I think Ben-Gvir used the soft words to be more accurate. The President Biden and the Biden administration couldn't care less about Israel's security. I'm talking only about fact, the way they force Israel to give Hamas gas and supplies in order to continue the war. So, and for example, the way they forced Israel to let the population of northern Gaza to go back to their homes, together with Hamas in between them. And now the Israeli soldiers have to fight again to take over the same places they fought just a few months ago in order to liberate. So, and in many other aspects as well, the United States of America is doing everything it can to make sure Israel will not win that war. And the question is not why the Americans are doing that. I can give many suggestions why, but why Israel is taking this pressure, and this question bothers me much more.
And would you agree with the suggestion that Itamar Ben-Gvir made that if Donald Trump would be president, the war would look different, and America's support for Israel would look different?
Well, I believe Donald Trump and would have been better for Israel simply because the Trump constituency are the part of the American population that are believes in the Bible, and basically wants the good of Israel. While the Democrats represents progressivism, which is not the faithful part of the of the biblical part of like the Bible Belt. Yes, in America, they represent the other side, who wish bad for Israel and good for Hamas. So there is a good chance that that yes, Trump would have been better for Israel, but I'm not sure that even if Trump would have been the president, that Israel would have been better for Israel. And I know what I said now sounds odd, sounds strange, but I want to remind you, Michael, that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during the time of Trump, did not want to move the Israeli embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and Trump had to force it on him. Okay, that's the truth. That's how it was. And Trump forced it because his people, his voters, forced it on him. So again, the question is not who is in power in America. The real question is who is in power in Israel.
I want to ask you that we hear now rumors about a new hostage exchange deal between Israel and Hamas. As we know, we still have 136 hostages being held in tunnels and in different hiding places in Gaza. And what we hear now is that we'll have 100 terrorists freed for every hostage, or something in that ballpark, a huge amount of, I'm not sure if it will be 100 for one or 10 for one, but a huge amount of terrorists will be freed for these hostages. I want to ask you, how do you really see that deal? Is it something that should be done in order to save the hostages, or will that hurt the Israeli war effort to such an extent that it will not be able to be repaired?
This is terrible, horrible immorality and weakness of the Israeli government. How many Japanese soldiers did America free? Did America negotiated its POWs in Japan while it was fighting Japan on World War II? No, all the Americans focused on was winning that bloody war. And then whoever they could free, they did. They did not stop the war or weaken themselves in any way until they finished this bloody job. Right? Now, in return of one soldier, Gilad Shalit, we got over 350 kidnapped Jews in Gaza. What are we going to get in return of releasing hundreds of them? A true leader should think about the future kidnaps. We're going to release 200 kidnapped Jews, which I pray for them every day, of course. And in return, we're going to get thousands of Jews kidnapped next time. And tens of thousands murdered by those monsters that we're going to release to the streets. This is ridiculous. This is crazy. This is immoral. This is I cannot describe the low level that the Israeli government got to, and they show it as a humanitarian behavior. It is not. It is totally the opposite.
So Moshe, I want to ask you, how should we free these hostages?
The whole world is looking at us now as the Jewish nation that represents the good in the world, represents God, that find itself in a war against pure evil, pure Nazism. There's a reason why the Nazis had to kill the last Jewish baby, because they represent the pure evil, and we represent the pure goodness. And there is a constant, and there's a fight between the two, total fight between the two. So now the whole humanity, the whole world, is looking at the fight between the good and the bad, between the nation that represents God, represents good, against the pure evil that show its face again. Pure concentrate evil. And what do? You lose the war. And if you lose that war, you don't have the right to exist, because that's your mission in the world, to destroy the evil, to show goodness. And one major part of radiate goodness in the world is fighting the evil. We are not Christian. We're Jews. We're not giving the other cheek.
I don't think Christians either give the other cheek. It's not.
They don't, but they're supposed to do. Supposedly, yes. Well, by us, by the Jews, it's not even in theory. The Torah shows us when evil comes, when Amalek comes, you have to demolish it. And if you don't do it, you're not moral, you're immoral.
So Moshe, in relation to that,
and if you're trying to cover your immorality with so-called humanity for the kidnapped people, which means very unhumanity to all those who will be tortured and kidnapped and slaughtered by those terrorists you release. You're doing exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do, and the whole humanity is waiting for you to show the way how the world should start deal with evil.
Moshe, I want to ask you one last question before the end of our interview. How should Israel deal with such a hostile administration in the White House in the US?
Look, again, the Americans are not the problem. The Americans are the Israelis, the Israeli leaders. And I'm not talking only about political leaders. Talking about high-rank army officers, very high rank, the highest in the Israeli army, that living very well from these good connections with the Americans, and basically see themselves as servants of the Americans before their own government and their own people. And I'm not going to get into details, but a whole layer of leadership that was developed here since the Oslo process, Oslo agreements, has to go home.
And what about the Biden administration? Should we sever ties with them?
Once we have here a government with real backbone, with real Jewish backbone, government that understands what it represents, which people they represent, which values they represent, the Americans will not be the problem. The Americans have some good values as well, but don't expect the Americans to respect you if you don't respect yourself.
Moshe, thank you very much for this interview. Thank you very much for your insight on the political situation in Israel and in our relations with the US. Thank you. I want to say also thank you to all of our viewers that saw this interview. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on all our social media platforms. Thank you again, and have a great day.